Okay, so chapter 1 is titled What is Statistics? So I'm sure if you were in anatomy class, the first slide would say what is anatomy. If you were in zoology class, the first slide would say what is zoology. So let's first talk about what is statistics. We've all heard the term before. Your mother may have said, don't become a statistic. What is statistics? What is statistics? What is statistics? Aaron?
The analyzation of data.
Okay, I like that. You said a word, one word that I really like there. You said it, two words I like. Analyze, and you said data. Okay? So, why do we analyze data? Why do we analyze data? You're right. Statistics is about analyzing data, but why? Capri, go ahead.
Possibly to report progress.
Okay, to report progress? Sure, right? I can think of a lot of things we, report progress with via data, like how far we are on a task or a project, yes? How many hours were billed to this project, or, whatever it might be, yes? Sure. Okay, so report progress. What else? What is the, go ahead.
It helps you analyze past data, helps you make decisions for the future.
Okay, very good. So you guys, most of you are business majors, right? And a lot of you said, hey, my major is business management. You said business management. What's business management? Well, think about what business managers do. In business management, you're trying to make the best decisions with people, personnel, whatever it might be, to maximize profit. You're trying to use a finite set of resources the best way. So you want to make decisions. And you can make better decisions if you have what? You can make better decisions if you have what? Not data, but someone said it, if you have information. Okay, so if you want to think about it, all statistics is a way to get information from data. And there's a nice slide up here, so why should I write on the board? We have data. Data is just raw facts. Okay? What we do is we apply statistical techniques to data to come out with information, okay? And information can be used for making decisions, for planning, for reporting progress, for forecasting, for controlling, all those good things, for predicting, right? All those things can be used. Information leads to, and this is a little bit further, but information, so we use analyze, statistics is just, analyzing data, leads to information, and information leads to knowledge, because we know something now, we understand something, we have knowledge about it, and as Sir Francis Bacon once said, knowledge is power. If I have more knowledge than my competitor, I have a competitive advantage over them. If I understand something better, I have a competitive advantage, and we're looking for that in the business world. I'll give you a good example, okay? A fine example that applies to all of you. If you look at your transcript, okay, the transcript for Ebony, it's going to have on her transcript a bunch of data. It's going to have, in her freshman year, she took Core 101, and she got an A in it. She also took Science 101 and got an A-. All those things. All that's data, and it's a lot, right? She's taken, maybe, 30, 40 classes at St. Francis. I can get a feel for it, right? I can look at it, and it's data, but how do I really say, hey, how do I sum that up with information and say she's a good student or maybe not a good student? GPA. Yeah, and what is GPA? It is, we took all those grades, we figured out a grade point average. Average is a numerical statistical measure, right? It's a descriptive statistical measure. So now we say she's a 3.8 student. She's a good student. He's a 1.2 student. Now, better dismiss him, right? All these things, that's what statistics is all about, to take data and come up with information. And think about our world today. Think about our world today compared to 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. We generate a colossal amount of data each day now, more so than ever. Think about it. If you go down right now to the cart and buy a cup of coffee off Karen and a bagel, that generates data, does it not? It generates, you bought a cup of coffee, it comes off your balance, the time of day it was, what you bought with it. You bought coffee with a banana or coffee with a bagel. We can analyze that and say, okay, here's a cross-sell opportunity. You know, people that buy a bagel typically want a coffee with it. So, you know, we train our staff to, you know, if someone buys a bagel, do you want a coffee with that? Those kind of things, or we package things together. This is the world of what's called big data, right? We have all this data. If you go to the website, okay, you go to Amazon.com and you start clicking around, okay, and you're saying, I'm looking at this, I really want these pair of shoes. And you never buy anything, but just lo and behold, the next day you get an email from Amazon saying, hey, did you check out these shoes? We'll give you 10% off. You guys ever see that? You think, oh man, that's crazy. Or you're in Gmail, you know, and you're thinking about a vacation, you're talking to someone about a vacation, and boom, all of a sudden, you know, Big Brother is watching, right? They're taking all that data, they're analyzing it. You go to Netflix or you go to Pandora and they say, you know what, based on what you've watched before and what you rated before, we think you'd really like this, okay? And damn, if they're not right 90% of the time, right? Isn't that crazy? They don't know me, they don't know my wife, they don't know my habits. Well, they do know my habits, but they have these algorithms that predict. They use data to add value, okay? And that's what statistics can do, and that's what we're gonna learn how to do in this class. So all stats is a way to get information from data. That's it, okay? That's it. There's some examples in your text. My examples are better, so I'm skipping over those. So, a couple things. Let's define the types of statistics. Sorry for creep. Let's define the types of the statistics. And I started talking about STAT301 versus STAT302. The first, what we call branch of statistics, is something called descriptive statistics. And as the name implies, descriptive statistics is about describing a set of data, you know, so that we can get our minds around it. Okay, descriptive statistics deals with methods of organizing, summarizing, and presenting data in a convenient, informative way. GPA is descriptive statistics. It's called numerical descriptive statistics because we're using a number to describe how good of a student Ebony is. Okay? So under descriptive statistics, there are really three kind of methods under there. There are what's called graphical, which obviously is describing data as a graph. Bar charts, pie charts, line charts, scatter diagrams, histograms, you know, bubble charts, all those things. Those are graphical descriptive statistics. The other type is numerical. This is describing data via number. Grade point average, average yards per carry, average attendance at our events, the percentage of people from out of state. Okay, these are all numerical descriptive techniques. And one that's kind of, kind of betweener, I guess if you will, kind of more related to numerical, is tabular. Okay, tabular descriptive statistics. Usually we have numbers that we put in a table, but when we put in a table, the table itself, via highlighting the organization, is kind of like a graph that adds some value to the data, right? So tabular is putting data into a table, information into a table, okay? I think I talked about numerical techniques. There are some common measures, and we'll talk about this more in chapter, I believe it's chapter 2, or chapter 3, I think it is. Measures of central location, such as mean and median. Measures of variability, such as range, variance, and standard deviation. Yes, we will talk about that in chapter 3. Now, the other branch of statistics that we're going to talk about more so in STAT 302 is called inferential statistics. Okay, inferential statistics. Let's see. I'm not able to do it well. Oh, all right. I will make an inference about Adam. I'm guessing, Adam, that you watched the Pirate game last night. Okay. All right. So you're a Pirate fan. I'm making that inference. So how did I know that? I know Adam a little bit, but not that well. Okay, I made an inference, right? I took one small characteristic of Adam, the fact that he has a pirate hat, and I made an inference about, that he likes the Pirates, that he was watching the Pirates last night. That's what inferential statistics is about. We're going to take a characteristic, which we call statistic, and make an inference about the whole. So more so in inferential statistics, we take a sample. For example, if I want to know the average number of hours slept by a St. Francis student last night, I don't want to talk to every damn St. Francis student, right? I don't want to ask them all their personal lives, and I don't have time to do that. So what I might do is I might say, well, you 30 people tell me how many hours you slept last night, take an average, and use that to make an inference about the whole. You know what I'm saying? I can say, based on this, I'm estimating that St. Francis students sleep between 6 and 7 hours a night on average, right? And it's pretty damn accurate. Have you ever seen things like the president's approval rating? What's Barack Obama's approval rating? And I want to hear if you, I don't bring politics in this class, so I want to hear if you like him or not. What's his approval rating right now? Does anyone know? About what? Does anyone know? Take a number. That's the number. Go ahead, man. 35. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's in mid-30s right now, okay? You ever see his approval rating, though? It just doesn't say 35%. What's it usually have, Nick, after it? Or polls, political polls in general, don't just usually have 35%. What do they usually have after it? Yeah, they usually do, okay? We call that the margin of error, plus or minus 3%. And the reason is that they made it come out with that, I could Google it right now, we could find out President Barack Obama's approval rating. There's sampling services that do that every week. And maybe it's 35% plus or minus 3%. But did they ask you what you thought about Barack Obama? You're an American, right? Did they ask you? They didn't ask me. So how did they come up with that data? How did they come up with that information, I should say? They took a sample, and based on that sample, they're making an inference that somewhere between 35 minus 3%, and 38%, 35 plus 3%, like President Barack Obama, or favor President Barack Obama, right? Why is that powerful stuff in the world of business? Why is that good stuff in the world of business?
Make course corrections as required.
Okay, very good. He knows, hey, what do people think about me? He doesn't have to talk to John Miko, right? In business, time is money. If he had to go out and ask everyone what they thought of him, right, he doesn't have time to do that, right? If we're coming out with a new product, we don't want to come out with a new product and say, hey, everyone's going to love this. We do a sample and we say, oh, this sample, people like it. So we project that to the whole, right? That's what inferential statistics is all about. It saves us time and money. And guess how many people they ask for these kind of polls? To say something like this, it's on national press. How many people do you think they ask to get that number? How many hundreds, thousands, millions? What do you think? Go ahead. Yeah, not a lot, okay? Maybe 1,200, maybe 1,500. They usually say it's called N, the sample size. But they're not spending, 30,000 people. They're not making 40,000 phone calls. It can be quite accurate if we get very, very small sample size. Here's another thing. Nielsen. You guys ever hear the Nielsen rating channel? Nielsen ratings for TV shows? Never? Nielsen ratings? So what was Nielsen ratings, Adam?
So Nielsen, I think it's an independent company.
They are an
your
independent
house
company.
and then they'll come in and set up a box, so they kind of get an average of what you watch. Like you'll be a Nielsen family, and they know exactly what shows you're watching, how long, how fast you're flipping through channels, and they kind of records all that data. It's just a cross section.
That's what they say. In USA Today, on Tuesdays or something like that, they publish, hey, last week, 8 million people watched The Leftovers, or whatever, I don't know what show you're currently watching, but watched Breaking Bad, okay? This many people watched the Super Bowl. How do they know that? Did they come into your house and peek through the window and say, there's one, check? No. What they have is they have cross-section of Americans throughout the United States, maybe a couple thousand, and they alternate a little bit. Sometimes they set up boxes, right, so they know exactly what you say. They say, here's our sample, and we're making an inference about the whole. And then based on that, not only can they say, hey, we're looking at what people are watching because then we can charge more advertising dollars, but maybe what kind of people are watching, right? If I'm advertising something geared toward the elderly, do I want to advertise on MTV, right? No, it's young people watching that, right? If you watch, sometimes you watch Fox News, all their commercials are geared toward like reverse mortgages and those little scooters, what the hell are those scooters? Those run around things, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Hover round.
Hover rounds, that's what I'm thinking, yeah, and that, what a cane, what's that cane called? Isn't it the fancy cane? The hurricane, you guys see the hurricane? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's called the hurricane. It has like a nice base to it. I think I'd use the hurricane if I. But anyways, what they're trying to see is what market is out there, right? What market is out there? And it's based on inferential statistics. Now, some terminology along with that. So I think I described what it is, but what some terminology is along with that is population and sample. So let's talk about this. And I know you've probably heard these terms before. A population is the group of all items of interest to a stats practitioner. So if I do a poll for a presidential race, the population is every registered voter in America. That's the population I'm interested in studying. When I said I wanted to do a sleep study of St. Francis University students, every St. Francis University student is my population. Okay? That's the thing I'm interested in studying. Usually very large, sometimes very large, infinite. Okay? A sample is the subset we draw from that. We sampled these 30 St. Francis students. You guys are the sample. We sampled these 2,000 voters. That's the sample. It's potentially large, but less than the population. Okay? Potentially large, but always less than a population. Now, two terms that go along with those things. Parameters, and that's probably a new term to you, at least in this context. A parameter is a descriptive measure of a population, while a statistic is a descriptive measure of a sample. A parameter is a descriptive measure of a population, while a sample is a statistic is a descriptive measure of a sample. So, what we do in the world of inferential statistics is we use sample statistics. I take you 30 people, I ask you how many hours you slept, I average that together and I get 6.7. That is a sample statistic because it goes with the sample. 6.7 is the statistic. I make an inference about the population parameter, which maybe I don't know. That's what I'm using the statistic to make an inference about. Sometimes we do know the population parameter, right? Or sometimes someone says, I think St. Francis students sleep 8 hours or more on average. 8 would be the parameter because someone told me, hey, I think of the population, the average is 8. So what we do in statistical inference, that's the process, is we use sample statistics to make inferences about population parameters. That's the process that we follow. So let's give an example. If I'm doing a marketing research study, okay, and perhaps I change the packaging on my product. Maybe it's cereal, maybe it's a kid's cereal. What's my population of interest? What's my population of interest? Agree?
It'll be kids.
Okay.
They're
It could be kids. Anyone that's going to buy children's cereal, right? That's my population of interest, Rez. Okay. What would I do to see if this new packaging is exciting to kids or mothers or whoever I'm targeting? What would I do? What process would I do? Would I just put it on the shelves and hope things go well? What might I do? Go ahead, Evan.
You would have a sample group, maybe?
Okay, I might have a sample group, and you know what I might do? I might say, hey, instead of rolling it out to all 3,000 Walmarts or whatever the hell we're selling this, maybe put it in the Evansburg Walmart and see of the market share that we used to have, did it go up or did it go down in the Evansburg market, right? Did we start beating Captain Crunch, right? Did we take in, out? No, I don't know, okay? Maybe we try a region, right? A sample, and then from that we can make an inference about the whole, right? That's what statistical inference is all about. Now, is this always right? Is this process always right? Have you ever seen stats or someone make an inference that was wrong?
yeah.
Yeah, give me an example. Does anyone have an example? How about a classic example? Go ahead, Matt.
fantasy football predictions.
Okay, very good. They're using, maybe what they did in a couple preseason games to make an inference about the whole season, right? That's the population of interest. I don't know what that is, but I use maybe 2 games to make an inference about what they're going to do the rest of the wrong season. And sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, right? Very good. Zach?
Vegas odds.
What's that?
Las Vegas odds. Like,
What do you mean Las Vegas odds?
like the lines on games.
Okay. That's more of subjective probability, to tell you the truth. That's more of someone saying, I think there's an 18% chance the Steelers will win the AFC North, so I'm going to set the odds at, 1 to 5 or whatever it is. Okay? That's more subjective probability. How about in 2000? Here's a classic example of where statistical inference went wrong. Year 2000.
George Bush.
You guys remember the 2000 election? How old were you in 2000?
Kindergarten.
You guys don't remember that election very well then, huh? What happened in the 2000, you maybe you had to study it, I don't know. You guys know what happened in the 2000 election? Yes, sir?
In Florida, the votes, like the butterfly ballots, they wouldn't go all the way through.
Okay. So what happened that night when the stations were calling the election? Does anyone remember that? Yes, sir.
Didn't they say Al Gore had won the, I don't know if it was just Florida or it was the election.
Well, Florida controlled it. Whoever won Florida won. Okay, so what they did, I can't remember. I stayed up and watched it all night. First, all the news stations said, "Hey, Al Gore is the next president of the United States," and they had him up there with the presidential seal, and we're declaring Al Gore as the next president of the United States. Then a few hours later, they said, "No, we're wrong. George Bush is the next president of the United States." Then a few hours later, they said, "No one won." And what they were doing, did they count, at that point, had they counted all the votes in Florida? Have you ever voted, I vote in Portage, where Adam's from as well, and I can go home and say this person won the state, and I'm like, I know they didn't count my vote, right? Because, right, they're getting it to, I don't know where they sent it from Portage to Evansburg by a horse, I don't know how it gets there. But I knew they didn't count my vote, and they're always saying this person won the state. How do they know that person won the state already?
Sample.
Yeah, they do what's called exit polls. You guys know what an exit poll is? When you leave the polling station, they say, who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for? And you tell them. And if they see in that sample, 80% of people are voting for John Miko, and only 20% they're saying, I don't care. For the first 1,000, 80% or 20%, we'll make an inference about the whole and say, John Miko's going to win a landslide. You ever see that? That's called inferential statistics. Well, in the 2000 election, all the media stations wanted to be the first to call the election because, that's where you're going to tune into, right? You get ratings that way. And it was too close to call. They shouldn't have called it, but they used statistical inference to say Gore won, they were wrong. Bush won, they were wrong. They said, we don't sure. Then they had to count each vote because it was so damn close, you couldn't make an inference, right? You couldn't easily, you had to count them all. So we use a couple things in the world of statistics to kind of measure how sure we are, okay, when we make a statistical inference. So 2 more terms here. The first one is confidence level. The confidence level is the proportion of times the procedure, an estimating procedure, will be right in the long run. Obviously, the higher the better. And in the world of statistics, if we're not 90%, we're nothing. You shouldn't see anything using a statistical inference that is not at least 9% certain. 75% certain is fine for an argument in Lewis or up at the pub, but it's not good in the world of statistics, right? It's either 90% or above, okay? Confidence level is a percentage of times it's right. Percentage of times it's wrong is called significance level. So they're complementary, right? If the confidence level is 95%, the significance level is 5%. They should always add to 100%, okay? Sometimes you don't see that published, but usually these kind of polls have confidence levels of 95%. You have to look, if you ever saw a poll, usually they're in articles, if you click on the polling data, usually it has all those nitty-gritty details that people like me are interested in there, okay? Where else can this go wrong? Where else can sampling go wrong? And we'll talk about that more in, I think, chapter 3 as well. Where else can sampling go wrong? Go ahead.
You can have different bias.
Okay, very good. There's all kind of biases we can have. If I'm trying to, even if I use you guys as to say, what is the study habits of St. Francis. How many hours a week do St. Francis University students study? And I used you guys as an example. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And I made an inference about all St. Francis students. Yes?
Some majors are more hard.
Majors are different, right? No freshmen in here, right? Any sophomores in here? Maybe one or two, but mostly juniors in here. So I don't have a good mix, right? If I go over to Stokes and I say I'm getting an average height of St. Francis students, and I measure some people come out with 6'3", right? Right, because the basketball team was practicing, yes? Sometimes you see this according to it's not as bad as it used to be, but according to maybe an MSNBC poll, blah, 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 they come up with that. Well, people that watch MSNBC tend to be more liberal, right? So, maybe it doesn't really reflect the views of all Americans, but maybe a liberal Fox poll, maybe it's too conservative, you know what I'm saying? You have to have, your sample should look like your population, okay? It should be random sample. We'll talk about those methods later, all right? All right, so, believe it or not, that was chapter 1, okay? We're not done. We've got 10 minutes. So we're going to do one homework problem together to kind of explain this concept. You guys can see that up there. This is number 3 on page 9 of your course text. Bill. And I'm just going to call on you randomly. It says, a politician who is running for the office of mayor of a city with 25,000 registered voters commissions a survey. In the survey, 48% of the 200 registered voters interviewed say they plan to vote for her. What is the population of interest? What is the population of interest? Taylor, what is the population of interest? Population is the thing I'm interested in studying. All the things I'm interested in studying. Okay. But what is all the collection of everything I'm interested in studying? Is it the 200 or the 25,000? What's the population? It is. It's the 25,000, right? So then 200 would be what? 200 is?
Sample.
Okay. So when I took the sample, 48% said they would vote for her. So is 48% a sample? A statistic or a parameter? It is a statistic. Statistics go with samples. It's 48% of the 200. If at the beginning of this, it didn't have this sentence, but in the beginning of this, if I said, this politician believes that she will receive 55% of the vote. What is 55% of the vote? What is 55%? It's a parameter. It's more than half, yeah, but it's a parameter because it goes with the population, right? Parameters go with populations. Statistics go with samples. Okay, statistics go with samples. So, for Thursday, I would like you to acquire the text, and I would like you, in your book, to do number 2 on page 9, number 4, do 6 and 7. Don't worry about 8. It was great to meet you all. Hope your semester's starting out well. right, we'll see you Thursday.
You gonna